Honey, I will kill you. Yo.
You scare me more.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie, and today we are back with another Dun Dun Mukbang. Guys, I'm so excited because today in front of us we have an authentic Chicagoan deep dish pizza. Now I know what you're thinking.
Wow, Stephanie, how can you be so sure it's authentic? You live on the East Coast,
No, I don't. I live on the West Coast. Never eat soggy waffles, beats. Did you guys do that? North, east, south, west, never eat soggy waffles.
You don't know where's east, west, west?
No, Vince, you don't know Northwest. Today we are going to be eating an authentic Chicago deep dish pizza shipped directly from Chicago, a restaurant in Chicago. I think it's called Geno's or something like that. So we just topped it with some hot Cheetos, and I guess let's get started.
Yes.
I guess I'll go first.
Oh, okay.
Who's pretty today? I'm just kidding.
Stephanie Sue.
Wait, how do I cut it? Okay.
Oh.
I mean, but I brought some other instruments.
What are you
Some
That
other
looks like
tools.
your hairdresser. What is it?
Oh, my hair straightener?
hair
Oh my
straightener,
god,
yeah.
it does look like a hair straightener. I thought you were going to say it looks like tweezers to put on your lashes and shit. And I've been putting on your lashes like this.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
It's
my
kind of tough,
gosh.
actually.
Like tough in consistency or tough in difficulty?
Crusty.
Oh no.
Tough and crusty. Like you.
Like you.
Got him.
Okay, who wants the first slice?
Stephanie
Here you go,
Sue.
Dan.
Whoa.
There's cheese at the bottom.
Holy
You
shit.
guys see that? You guys, they don't see that.
Okay,
That's
give me one.
Okay.
So this is from Chicago.
From Chicago.
So it's my first time.
Oh, this is his first time eating a deep dish pizza. Are you excited?
And from Chicago.
Yeah. And he was like, why is there so much sauce? This ain't a pizza. And I was like, no, it's a deep dish pizza. He's like, you know what? Fine. That's what I said the first time too. It's very saucy. I wonder, do you like regular pizza?
Oh yeah.
Like, how do you like it? Do you like thin crust,
I
thick
like-
crust,
Here you
stuffed
go.
crust?
I like regular, like just normal.
You like just cheese pizza?
No. The supreme.
I love Supreme.
From where?
Oh my
What's your
God.
favorite pizza shop?
Papa John's
We do have good pizza.
or Domino's.
Domino's or Papa John's.
No
I don't
Pizza
like
Hut?
Pizza Hut as much.
Nah.
Yeah.
Shall we
Shall
perform
we?
the surgery?
Yes, sir. We're ready to operate when you are.
Bro, I'm the one performing surgery.
Oh yeah.
We're your assistant.
Yeah, we're your backup team, okay? Wow, you cut me a beautiful slice. Almost perfect right here.
Wow.
You can see this delicious hot Cheeto topped pizza. Okay, I'm just gonna take a bite. Ready?
Smells so good.
All right, wait.
Oh, you're just gonna threateningly leave
let's
the
go.
knife there? Okay. Oh my god.
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 Oh
Best
my god.
deep dish
Ever.
ever.
What the heck? What have we been eating?
Dude.
Oh my god.
Holy crap.
We've been eating deep dish pizza from here. Doesn't compare.
Really?
Doesn't compare.
This doesn't even compare to like regular pizza.
No. Oh my god.
Wow.
You like it?
Uh-huh.
There's so
Wow.
much cheese and stuff in
There's
here.
onions, mushrooms, bell peppers, meatballs, cheese, sauce. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And I think the hot Cheetos
I get it now.
has the extra flavor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's hot Cheeto. I forgot about that.
I thought it would be hard, but it's like so soft.
Yeah, it's so good.
It is so good. Holy cow.
Wow. You know what I think it is?
Good thing we'll have another one. Your mom can try it too.
Yeah. I feel like if you were to start a deep dish pizza place in LA, it's all about like, oh, you're so cool because you make deep dish pizzas, right? But I'm sure in Chicago there's so much competition that you really have to make your sauce good because the sauce is so good too. Like the way they add everything, it's not just like canned marinara sauce like thrown on top. Like I'm sure this is some really well worked on marinara recipe for this shit. Wow.
Damn. Amazing. Cheetos go so well on top.
I'm blown away. Okay, I'm gonna try a bite of this thick crust.
Wow. This... I don't know what to say. This is so good.
Oh my god.
Huh.
Take a bite of the crust. It's crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside. Soft. Wow. It's so good. Wow. That is so good. Holy cow. Okay, I'm so sorry.
Wow.
Dan, you know we tried to make one before?
The deep dish? But failed?
No. I think mine passed. I got like 70. Stephanie made one too. Like 20.
Bro, it was good.
Out of 2 trillion.
Okay, so out of this, it was like a 20. But like out of some LA restaurants.
Oh! It's just marvelous.
Today's story is about a movie that you guys have been requesting I talk about called The Invisible Man.
Invisible Man.
Wait, the one that just came out? The horror movie? Oh, is it really?
Oh, it's a movie?
But it's a classic, right? It's based on the book?
Yeah.
The novel?
Is it a comic? I thought it was a comic.
I read a book when I was young. It's a classic.
Invisible Man.
I don't know if we're talking about the same one.
I think
Did he
so.
drink some type of solution?
No.
No?
No.
How did he become invisible?
How would you convince someone to believe something that they can't see?
It's impossible.
How would you do it, honey?
Convince someone that something is real if you can't see it.
And they can't see it either.
It's impossible.
I just gotta, scoop their eyeballs out.
Honey!
And then I tell them the sky is green. And then, they will have to believe it because
You sound like a serial killer.
Watch out, guys.
you can't see God.
That's true religion, technically.
Yeah, you can't see.
Exactly, right?
So how do you... Oh.
So how do they do it?
How does everyone believe it?
It's very
That's
complicated.
too deep for us. This is too complicated for us.
Yeah, let's go back to the comics.
Let's go back to scooping eyeballs.
Today's movie opens up with 2 lead characters. Now, let me tell you something about these characters, and let me tell you something about movies. This is gonna start very 50 Shades of Grey, okay? You were talking about a super high-tech, super insane, modern, beachfront, cliffside, oceanside, a bajillion dollars, probably has side to side house, okay? And there's 2 people in bed, and we're gonna find out that their names are Adrian is the man,
Okay.
and Cecilia is the woman, and they're obviously married, and he has his arms wrapped around her as she's sleeping. Now, one would think, wow, this sounds like a romantic look. This is very cute. I wish my boyfriend did that to me. But Cecilia doesn't look like she's enjoying it. She looks petrified. And so she wakes up, and it's 3 in the morning, and she looks at her alarm clock, and she slowly wiggles out of his grasp, okay? And you see her running around this house. Now, the opening scene really just, I feel like, focuses on the absorbent wealth and high-techness of this home. Everything is spotless clean. There's not a lot of clutter. It's not a very lived-in home. It's not going to be one where you see lots of cute pictures and very comfortable places to sit. It looks like your ass is going to be sore the entire time that you're visiting them. Like, there is no cushiony-looking place to sit your ass down on, right? And so she's running around packing her bag, and your first question is, now, no offense, but like, why would she leave? Like, what's going on? This place looks great. Like, I'd love to spend a day like in that bathroom of hers. That it looks so big, And she's packing all of her bags. She's switching the security cameras that are facing their room just so she can watch him on her phone and make sure that he's asleep. And she pulls out a pill bottle that says diazepam that was prescribed to her name, which makes people very, very like fainty and drowsy. And so she mixes in with water and puts it on his bedside table. Maybe she knows that his routine is to wake up and drink it. And so she starts packing more things, and she makes it out to the garage. Before she does that, though, you do see a big quick splan over their basement. And the basement is his studio, his workplace, and you see all these crazy looking high-tech suits. They look like fiber suits or something, okay? And later you'll learn that he is a world leader in optics. So it's very intriguing. She makes it out to the garage, and there she sees a Doberman. But it's her Doberman by the name of Zeus, okay? Now, it's wearing like one of those shock collar things, right? And the Doberman is like whining, looking at her, and it seems like they both don't like living here. And so she says to her dog, Zeus, I can't take you right now. I'm so sorry, you have to stay, right? And he whines again, and so she says,
It's
okay.
already cut.
Oh, thank you.
And she says, okay, well, there's no way I'm leaving you with that thing on your neck, right?
Yeah.
And so she goes over and she's trying to unlock him from his little leash thing when his butt bumps into just the wonderfully placed Audi R8 in their garage and the alarms go off.
Ooh.
And so she manages to take the collar off and she runs over these high gates in their house and runs into the woods and she's calling and she's like, where the hell is she? Where the hell is she? Right?
She's calling someone and
And
saying
suddenly, a car rolls up, and it's Emily, her sister. She gets into the passenger side, and her sister's like, what's going on? What's wrong? And she says, just drive, just drive. And all of a sudden, you see Adrian show up right next to the car. Now, this is when you get a taste of how crazy Adrian is, because let's say your wife was sneaking away in the middle of the night with her sister, not another man, but her sister. You might wonder, hey, like, should we do counseling? Should we talk about it? Do you want me to call you tomorrow? What's going on? No, he decides to say, you can't do this to me, and smashes his hand through the car window and tries to grab her, and they drive away. And then she wakes up at a guy's house by the name of James. Now, James has a daughter by the name of Sydney, and James is a detective for the local police department and one of Emily, her sister's closest friends.
Okay.
And so she's just, staying there because Adrian knows where her sister lives, And so that would be the first place that he would look since he saw them in the car together. So she's staying there and she seems scared of everything. She doesn't sleep well. James is asking her, what's going on? He's not going to find you here. Don't worry. And she just keeps looking out the window. Now he says, you can't live like this for the rest of your life. Why don't you go outside and get the mail? And the mail is at the end of their driveway, right? And it seems like she can't even do that. She's so scared. She makes it halfway and she runs back because she sees someone jogging. And she just feels like Adrian is going to find her anywhere she goes. A couple days pass and all of a sudden there's a knock on their door. And James goes and opens it and it's Emily. And she gets so mad. She says, Emily, what the are you doing? We had an agreement. He knows where you live. He's probably following you right now and you just let him here. And she's like, no, I didn't. Don't worry. And she goes, yes, you did. What the fuck is going on? Why are you here? Why are you here? You need to leave. And she says, listen, Adrian's not going to come looking for you. And she's like, you don't even know anything about anyone, right? You don't even know Adrian. He's crazy. And she's like, okay, listen, Cecilia. He's not coming after you because he's dead. And she's like, what?
Dun dun dun.
So she killed him?
And so they sit down together and Emily, her sister, says he committed suicide a couple days ago and yeah, it's just, I guess he couldn't live without you. I don't know what's going on. What did he do to you? And you hear Cecilia saying all the things that Adrian did and it seems really scary. Like he was a control freak. So first when they got married, right, he is this very wealthy, attractive, powerful person and she just thought that she was lucky that she could be with him.
Right.
And he would control what she ate, what she looked like, how she did her hair, what she wore. But then it started getting really bad because then he would start controlling the things that she would say and even the things that she would think. She said one day she was sitting on the couch thinking about how she's going to leave him and he was staring at her and he just said, you can never leave.
Wait, he knows what she's thinking?
And walked away.
Wait, he knows or he's guessing?
He's guessing,
That's still creepy.
Yeah. And she was like, he's scary. And if you don't want to do what he says you should do, or if he thinks that you're thinking something he doesn't want you to think, he gets violent and he'll hit you and do other things. And they're like, what other things? And he goes, well, Adrian really wanted to have a baby because he felt like if we had a baby, then I could never leave him. And so I even had to secretly take birth control without him knowing because I couldn't say no to him, right? And so they're all like, oh, I'm so sorry. Well, at least it's over now. And then from there, you see her kind of transform into someone that's a lot happier. She's in her room. She's still staying with James because technically she has nowhere to go. And she's kind of like fixing up her clothes when she feels like there's someone behind her. And so she looks behind. And there's nothing. But she keeps hearing these soft clicking noises. And she's like, okay, that's so weird, right? But maybe it's like in my head. Like he did just die and I was like so scared of him. So I'm probably like going through some shit in my head right now. And so she moves on. She's making breakfast, right? And she's like excited, okay? He's gone. She's living her life. She's making breakfast for Sydney, their daughter, or James's daughter, right? Who's really cute. And she like really wants to go to Parsons and stuff, but they don't have the money. And so she's like making eggs, bacon. And James is like, hey, I'm going to head to work, but can you wake up my daughter for me? And she's like, yeah, of course. And so she has the fire on low. She puts her knife on the counter and goes upstairs to wake up Sydney. And the frame stays on the kitchen, where suddenly you see the knife drop
Nope.
away from the counter.
Just
But
by
Like
itself?
this? Like this?
no, like
Whoa! Okay. Can I have that back?
yeah,
So you just start floating in the air.
yeah, but it wasn't like knocked over.
Ah.
That's creepy.
So
And
the
then-
invisible man comes.
And then you suddenly see the fire go from low to high, and then something being poured into the pan and creates a big fire.
All by itself, right?
And so they run downstairs, all the alarms are going off, they fire extinguish it, and they're both confused, but they don't really think anything of it.
Jeez, why he so obsessed with her?
Yeah. And then the next day, she goes into the shower and she hears more soft clicking noises. And she has a shower curtain, so obviously she opens the shower curtain, no one's there, right? Do you guys do that with shower curtains? Or when you're peeing and there's a shower curtain next to you, you're just like, I don't think so, not today.
After
Yeah.
I watched Scary Movie.
Yeah, but also it's like the point of like, listen, if you're sitting on the toilet peeing and you open the shower curtain and let's say someone is standing there holding a knife, like what are you gonna do? Like you're in the most vulnerable position, like sitting there peeing.
Turn around, pee on them.
And then they're like,
Ooh, I like it.
sorry, it's a creepy person, okay? And
It's a different type of movie.
she hears these soft clicking noises and she thinks it's strange, but whatever. Now it's time to move on with life. And so James said, hey, do you want to try getting the mail today? And she says, okay. And so knowing that Adrian's dead, she finally has the courage to go outside and get the mail. So she goes outside to the mailbox, grabs the mail and comes in, and she's so happy. And James said, oh, wait a second, there's a letter for you. And she goes, wait, nobody knows I'm here.
Ooh.
So she opens the letter, and then the next scene, you see her in this very fancy downtown high-rise office with her and her sister, Emily, sitting next to a man by the name of Tom. Now, Tom is an attorney, but also Adrian's brother.
Oh.
And he says, listen, you know, obviously Adrian wants to be here. Well, actually, he is here with us. And they go, what? And then he goes, yeah, those are his ashes right behind you. And they look, and it's just like a little bottle that says Adrian, right? And he goes, but he left me to take care of his estate, and he said that you will be getting $5 million without any income tax and estate tax free. You're
Damn.
going to get it in batches, about $100,000 a month for the next 4 years.
Dang.
And there's a couple guidelines. You can't be deemed mentally unstable, and you can't commit a crime. You can't be a criminal receiving this money. And so then she said, oh, wow, okay. Okay.
He's so nice.
Yeah. And then she comes back home to where James and Sydney are. And she's in the living room, and she has this ladder with a ribbon on it. And she's like, guys, come in here. I have a present for you. And his ladder was broken. So James is like, oh, wow, a ladder. And Sydney's like, a ladder? That's so random, right? And she goes, well, you know, so you can reach things in high places. And so she's like, Sydney, what's that? Use this ladder to get there, right? And so she had given Sydney this piece of paper that says that she's going to deposit $10,000 into her bank account for a year, every single month.
Oh, so she went up there. She grabbed the paper.
Yeah.
It's like a David Dobrik moment. And
Yeah, so that she can go to Parsons, the school she got into but couldn't afford.
Got it.
And so it seems like everything's going super well for her, right?
Yeah.
And then she goes back into her room and she hears more clicking.
What's clicking? What does that mean, clicking?
There's
Like
noise.
it's like imagine if like, but it's like random and it doesn't seem like it's coming from anything, right?
Yeah.
And so she goes to sleep that night when she just feels really creeped out. And so she decides, okay, I'm just going to go into Sydney's room and sleep with her, right? So she gets into Sydney's bed, throws the blanket on top of her, and she looks around, and all of a sudden the blanket gets swiped from the room. Her bed. Sydney doesn't wake up, and she wakes up and she's looking around, right? And she sees the chair. The chair in Sydney's room has butt dents on it. I know, scary.
Damn.
Butt dents.
Holy shit.
And so she decides, okay, I have to be smart, right? So she grabs a small blanket and she throws it onto the chair.
She want to make sure there's no ghost
Yeah,
or
because if
anything.
someone's sitting there,
Right.
it would, you know,
Yeah.
but it goes flat to the chair.
Oh.
And so she's like, what? Okay, so then she pulls the end of it to get it off the chair, and as she's dragging it, suddenly it stops.
Ah.
Sounds what?
She can't drag
She
it.
could.
But there's nothing holding it down. And she looks, and at the edge of it, it looks like if this is the blanket, it's like this. There's like
Someone's
two dents,
foot.
but not all of it, like half their feet.
Okay.
And so she's
Damn.
looking and looking, and she gets so scared. And then suddenly she sees one of the imprints lift, and then another one of the imprints lift. And she yanks the blanket, runs into bed, and starts screaming.
Yeah.
And James runs in. Sydney grabs her pepper spray. He's like, what are you going to do with your f***ing pepper spray, right? And she's like, what do you mean? What's going on? And she's like, he's right there. He's right there. And they're like, who? What are you talking about? And she's like, he's right there. He's right there. And they're like, what are you talking
Oh
about?
my God.
And then she's like, I saw him. He's like, there's nobody here. There's not even a window open. What are you saying, right? And he's like, just go to bed. Like, it's been a long time. You have a really important interview tomorrow. Don't let him ruin this. So he thinks that she kind of has some sort of PTSD, like coming to terms with the fact that her abusive husband is now dead. And she might even feel guilty for it because she's the one that left him. And so he's like, you have a big interview tomorrow. Just stay focused on that. Don't let him ruin this too.
Yeah.
And so she goes back to bed.
Dan knows what's going on.
Yes.
So Dan's going to give us his theory right now.
So my theory is,
Yeah.
he's not actually invisible. He put the ashes as a scene, you know? And then he's hiding somewhere in the house, and he's just giving hints, clues. And then at the end, I feel like he's gonna come out and try to...
Okay, so I think he is invisible. That was the underlying, right? He has he owns like these bio suits. So he developed an invisible suit. So he is invisible.
Okay.
But I'm thinking all he's trying to do right now is mess with her mind. And then everybody thinks she's going crazy. Remember the will says that if you're mentally unstable, you can't get the money. They made her think like she's gonna get it, and then he's gonna drive her crazy, and everybody's gonna think she's crazy because what are you talking about, invisible man?
Right.
Like, what are you talking about? And then she's gonna lose the money. So the ending, I feel like either she goes to mental hospital or they catches the guy eventually. No?
Close?
Close, but not really.
Oh, okay.
And so she's freaking out. She goes to sleep, and the next morning you see her walk into an architectural firm. And she used to be some sort of architect or engineer before she met Adrian and then quit her job to be a stay-at-home, wife. And so she has this briefcase, and it seems like her and her interviewer are getting along really well. They seem to really respect her, and so they sit down and he says, well, can we see her work? And she opens up her briefcase, and there's nothing in it. And she's like, oh, that's so strange. I remember putting it in here last night. I don't know why it's empty. And so she's so confused, and he's looking at her and he goes, it's okay, you can just email it to us whenever you have the time, right? And he goes on with the interview, but it seems like she just can't stay focused. She's just kind of like, what's going on, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden she's like, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well. Can I use the restroom? And she gets up and she faints. And her sister and James go pick her up from the hospital. And she comes home and she's showering, right, again. And she's looking in the mirror and she's like, what's going on with me, right? Like, am I really that sad that he's dead? And she gets a call from the doctor and says, hey, Cecilia, we ran your blood work, we ran all of this, and it seems like you had a high level of diazepam in your system.
That's the pill.
And she's like, diazepam?
That's that pill.
Oh my gosh.
And she goes, what? And they go, yeah, but also, there were some other things that came up. I would love if you could come back into the office so we could talk about it soon. And she was like, okay, thank you, I'll call you back, right? And she goes and she looks in her bag. She had left the diazepam somewhere. She had lost the bottle, right? She looks in her bag, and on top is the diazepam bottle from that night. And she starts looking around because it wasn't there earlier. She had lost it since before she got to James's place.
That means he's here.
And so she starts looking around. And so she begs James to go to Tom's office with her, and he says, okay, that's fine, right? And so they're sitting in front of Tom, Adrian's brother, and she goes, listen, I know exactly what Adrian's doing, right? And Tom is like, why is this man here? And he's like, hi, I'm James, I'm a detective, I'm here because this is my close friends. And she says something weird's going on here. And James was not expecting what she was about to say, which was, I know Adrian's not dead. And everyone's like, okay, you're kind of crazy, right? And so he's like, I mean, he's literally right there behind you. That's a pile of ash. We cremated him last week. Like, he's dead, okay?
Yeah.
And so she's like, no, he's invisible. And everyone's like, okay, let's talk about it, Cecilia. Let's talk about it. And she goes, he's not dead. He's invisible, and he's trying to mess with me. He's trying to control me.
Yeah.
And they're all like, what are you talking about? And Tom goes, listen, I know my brother. He is my brother, but he's when he died, I almost felt relief. He's a narcissist, he's a sociopath, and what he does is he likes to mess with people. And she says, no, you're not getting it, Tom. Do you not know how smart Adrian is? He's the world leader in optics. Like, of course he's fucking invisible. And Tom goes, Cecilia, I hate to say this to you, but he wasn't that great at optics. Yes, he was good, but he was the world leader because he knows how to get into people's minds.
Oh,
and so she's like, what? And he goes,
good.
What's better than creating an invisible suit, making you feel like he did, and driving you insane for the rest of your life? And that's exactly what Adrian would do to you. And so, you know, obviously James is sitting there, the detective, and he's like, this is some messy family shit. But he's like, that makes sense. You know, everyone's like, that makes sense, right? And they leave. Now, she's still upset about this, and she doesn't believe it. So she drives on over, to Emily, her sister's place, and she knocks on the door. And she's like, Emily, are you home, right? And Emily opens the door and goes, what do you want? And she's like, what? What are you talking about? And she goes, at least I know how you feel about me now. And she's like, what are you saying? And she's like, the email? How you wish you never knew me? By the way, Cecilia, I never wanted any of that $5 million. And it's gross that you would think that I am only staying around because I want your money. I don't want it. And so she's like, what are you saying? She's like, you literally sent me an email today. And she's like, I didn't send that. Adrian sent it. And her sister looks at her and goes, you need some medication. And slammed the door shut in her face.
At the same time, it's kind of dumb. Like, who would send that as an email?
And so then she gets into her car and she goes back to James's place and she's looking at her email and she goes into the sent folder and she sees one of the meanest emails saying things like, I wish you were dead instead of Adrian. I wish I never knew you. You're suffocating. All you want is money, etc., right? And so she's laying on the ground and hours pass. This is daytime. Passes to nighttime and she's just quietly crying, like fetal position on the ground. And Sydney knocks on the door and says, hi, can I come in? And she's like, yeah, it's fine. And so Sydney sits down and goes, okay, you know what I think we need right now? We're going to kick Dad out of the house, tell him to go out to eat, and we're going to do a girls' night. We're going to watch TV, eat all the food in the pantry.
Sorry, who's Sydney again?
The daughter of James, the one trying to go to Parsons.
Oh, got it.
And then she's like, does that sound good, right? And so Sydney's kind of looking at her like this. She's on her knees, and she's still in fetal position. And then it's so quick that even the viewer doesn't notice. But all of a sudden, Sydney gets decked in the face.
What do you mean?
She's like sitting here like this, and then suddenly someone slaps her from the side. And then because of that, Cecilia had jumped up so quick, right? And Sydney looks at her and was holding her face and it's like bloodied. And she's like, what the hell? And then she starts screaming, Dad, Dad. And James runs in and she's like, she hit me, right? And she's like so scared. And she's like, no, I would never hit you. What are you talking about? I would never hit you, right? And they're both looking at her like she's insane. And they go, okay, and Sydney's like, I don't feel safe here, right? And so James is like, okay, and they go downstairs and she's following and she's like, no, listen, why would I ever hit her? I didn't hit her. And they're like, it's fine, just leave, right?
Damn.
And they're like, I'm gonna go take Sydney somewhere she feels safe. You understand that, right? And they leave the house. And now she's alone in the house. And she was telling them before they left, like, this is Adrian. This is what he wants. He wants me to be isolated, you know? And for no one to feel close to me. And so then she's looking around the house and she goes into the kitchen and she grabs bags of coffee. She goes back to her room and pours them on the ground. So if someone walks by, she can see the footprints.
Yeah.
And she's sitting in the corner and she's looking around and she starts talking to herself.
Yeah.
Saying things like, listen, Adrian, why don't you just let me go? You know, there's so many people in the world that would love to date you. Like, who am I? I'm nobody. Like, just let it go. And she's looking around and nothing. And she's like, okay, obviously I'm going crazy. And so she crawls on over to where her phone is on the table on the other side of the room.
Okay.
And she calls Adrian's phone. And she hears ringing from above.
Shut up.
And so she grabs the ladder, opens the attic door, goes into the attic, and she sees bags, the knife from the kitchen, her portfolio from the interview, and she opens this phone that was sitting there. Seems like Adrian's old phone. And she goes into the pictures, and there's pictures of her in the shower. Those were the clicking noises. Pictures of her in bed.
Taking pictures?
Yeah, he's taking pictures of
Oh,
her.
he's tapping his phone.
Yeah.
So he's like that crazy.
Oh my god.
There's pictures of her. And so she looks around and she hears a creak behind her. And so as she's trying to run down the attic, something pulls at her and there's a thing of white paint near her. And so she's like, oh, this is it. So she throws it, trying to cover them in it because that would stick onto their suit, you know?
Yes.
It doesn't work. She sees a little bit, but she's like, okay, I don't see enough. So she runs downstairs and she goes to the front door and sees that it's wide open. And she walks outside. It's a cold night and she's breathing heavy because she's so scared. And she doesn't see this, but we see there's breath behind her. It's a cold night. And she turns around and walks back into the house and is looking around, and then in the kitchen you get a crazy like fight scene, and it's really intense because I read into it and I was like, they make everything look so creepy, right? How do they do that in a production standpoint? Sorry to take you out of it real quick, but
Yeah.
they were saying with a fight scene, normally with movies like this, these actors, they'll just pretend to fight someone and it doesn't seem as real. So what they did was they got a dude in a green suit to actually fight her. And so they did that, and like the other like parts of this movie that are so creepy is that they would show more space than needed, because that makes you feel like, is there someone standing there? Why are they showing that corner where there's nothing? You know, so you're like, I don't know, this makes you feel so uncomfortable. Just like, okay, maybe there is. I don't freaking know. Why is that corner so important?
Like right now, I'm looking behind you.
And so she immediately feels like she's not safe after she gets attacked in the kitchen, obviously, right? And see, the thing with Cecilia is she really likes Sydney, and she wants to protect this family that's been helping her, obviously. And so she doesn't want to bring this invisible man into this place. So she gets a car, it's nighttime, and she makes it back to Adrian's place, right, where they live together. And she's walking room to room, and she's trying to look for something, right? She makes it down to his basement, and she sees that there's this weird machine in there. And she steps inside, and there's cameras all around it. And she presses a button, and suddenly it starts making a suit that's perfect to her dimensions. And she's like, what is this? And so she grabs it, and then she hears a noise. So then she runs and she hides in her closet, right? And then finally, she can't take the suit with her, but she's able to escape the house. She gets back into the driver's car, and she calls her sister and says, we need to meet at a public place. Come meet me at this restaurant. And she's like, please just do it, right? So she goes into this busy ass restaurant. Her sister's sitting there, and it seems really tense. And they order, and she says, listen, I went back to Adrian's workplace right now, and I found something. I know that he's invisible, and I think I can prove it now. And so her sister's staring at her, when all of a sudden, her steak knife just lifts into the air.
Whose steak knife?
Cecilia's, right? So it's like this, right in front of her. And they both go, what the fuck? And so she's trying to grab it because the steak knife's just literally floating like this.
Okay.
And so Cecilia goes to grab it, but it goes and it slits Emily's throat, and her hand's like this, and it goes into her hand. And she's holding it, and everyone around her is screaming. And she has this bloody steak knife in her hand.
Oh.
And then the next scene, you see her
my
get
God.
thrown on the ground by the waiters, arrested by police, and at a mental hospital where she's strapped to the bed and she's saying, he did it, he did it, he did it. And she's staring into just empty space. And everyone's like, okay, she's losing it. Honey, I will kill you.
Yo,
honey.
You scare me more.
honey. Okay, and so she's staring off into empty space, and she's in the room, and he goes, he's sitting right there, guys, he's sitting right there, right? And the doctors inject her, and she starts getting really sleepy, right? And just as she's about to knock out from the sedatives, she hears him say, surprise. And then the next day she wakes up and they say, you have a visitor. So she goes and sits down, and it's Tom. And she goes, what, are you my lawyer now? And he's like, no, I've always been Adrian's lawyer. I'm representing him. And like I said, the $5 million was guaranteed to you. It doesn't bring me happiness to say this, but we can't give it to you anymore because, you know, you murdered your sister and you're mentally unfit. And so she's like, you know, I used to feel really bad for you because imagine being a sibling to a narcissist like Adrian.
Yeah.
But now I don't, because you are literally the same, but you're the jellyfish version because you don't have a spine. And so she's like attacking him. And so he pulls out a folder and he goes, listen, you can try to get an attorney, you can try to litigate this. I don't see it working out for you, or we can just make this very easy and simple. You can just sign over the rights to the $5 million right now.
To him?
To anyone, just back to Adrian's estate. And so she's like, I'm not going to do that. And he goes, or there's another option. And he pulls out a phone and he goes, one phone call. That's all he wants. And so she goes, what? And he goes, Adrian's not going to let you go. And he's definitely not going to let you go with $5 million. Call him one time and you'll be fine. And so this is also when you kind of like, prior to this, you find out that she knew, you know how the doctor called her earlier saying that she had diazepam in her system, but also come back to the office? She was pregnant. So Adrian knew she was taking birth control and swapped it for fake pills. But she thought he had no idea. And so she was pregnant right now. And so Tom is saying, you know, Adrian wants to raise the baby with you. Like, he wants to be a family. So just give him one call. And she's like, I'm not going to do that. And he's like, you're a murderer right now. He can make it all go away. All you need is one call.
So Adrian's gonna come back alive and raise the kid with her?
So he is alive, is what he's confirming.
So the whole like death was fake.
So Tom knew.
And she refused to go back, right?
And he says, I don't expect you to take it right now, take the phone call right now. I'll be back in 3 days. But just so you know, we'll be watching. And so she looks around and she sees a sofa in the visiting room. And it has butt marks on it. And so she starts getting an idea. And so she goes back to her room and she remembers, we'll be watching. Now, what does Adrian want more than anything? Obviously her, but more than that,
The
her
kid.
baby. And so she goes into the shower at night and she reaches into the ceiling where she had earlier that day hid a knife. And she grabs it and she looks around and she starts slitting her wrist because Adrian will stop her. And so as she's slitting it, something pulls her hand back. And so she turns around and she starts stabbing the invisible figure. And then you see like parts of the suit break.
Yeah.
Where you can still see parts and then it takes time. It's literally like fucking Avengers, you know? And then it takes time to get invisible again, right? And then suddenly she's being thrown up against a wall and stuff and she starts running outside and there's like hella guards, right? And the guards are like, what the fuck is going on? And suddenly each guard in the hallway where there's security cameras gets shot by their own guns. And
same
she's
time?
at the end of the hallway, so it looks like she's not the one killing all the guards, obviously.
But the camera captured all of it.
Each one that comes keeps just shooting them. And so then she's like, what the f-? So she finally manages to make it out of the hospital. She grabs a gun and she's trying to kill Adrian now. So
Yeah.
she's in the parking lot looking for him when all of a sudden a guard comes out and is like, it's okay, Cecilia. Just come out. It's fine, Cecilia, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden she gets thrown up to one of the cars and Adrian's voice says, I'm not going to hurt you. I would never kill you. But if you keep doing this, I'm going to kill everyone you love. And so she keeps trying to shoot him. It doesn't work. She ends up stealing a car from the parking lot. And she's calling James frantically as she's in the car saying, listen, are you home? Where's Sydney? Where's Sydney? Go to Sydney. This is really bad, right? And so you see Sydney at home all alone. And she starts hearing some noises in her room.
Oh no.
And so she's like, what the hell is going on, right?
Yeah.
And you see James pull up in his police car, sirens ablaze, and running into the house. And
Yeah.
she runs downstairs, and you see James with his gun out suddenly get just punched around. And then he's on the floor. Literally, someone's pulling him up by his tie, punching him some more, punching him. Sydney's like, Dad, I don't know what the fuck I do. She's like screaming, right?
Yeah.
And you see Cecilia run in through the open front door.
Yeah.
And she like splatters, I think it was like flour or something on him,
Oh.
and starts shooting him in the chest.
Yes.
And he knocks down,
Is he dead or no?
dead. And the suit is not invisible anymore.
Yeah.
And she walks over and pulls the suit open,
Yeah.
and it's Tom,
Tom, I knew it.
Adrian's brother. The next scene you see is SWAT teams going into Adrian's house, and they open a basement door, and they see him all tied up, and looks like he hasn't eaten in days.
Oh my god.
And so, you know, she's obviously in the police station now with James and Sydney. And James is like, okay, you're safe now. And Adrian's safe. Adrian was just a victim, just like you, right? Of Tom.
What?
And she's like, you don't get it. Tom was in your house, but everything else was Adrian. James goes, listen, Cecilia, I'm a cop. I know how this works. You just need to not talk crazy right now. You just need to take this. This is your way out. You know, the security footage in the hospital saw some weird shit. The judge is going to throw out your case for murdering, you know, being a murderer. This is your way out. Take
true.
it. And she's like, no.
What?
It's Adrian. And so he's like, it's not. We saw him in our house. It was Tom, and he's dead now. You don't have to be like this, right? And she's like, it's Adrian. And so then you see her at James's house, suddenly picking up the phone, and you hear Adrian's voice going, I'm so glad you called. And you see her get dressed up, put on lipstick, and walks out of the car into the house that they shared.
Yeah.
And Adrian is standing there outside looking really nervous. So this is where it feels so weird, because you're hearing about this very abusive husband, but he's quite attractive, very wealthy, and like almost romantic feeling, right? In this brief second. So it kind of shows you how quickly he can turn.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'm so nervous, I'm so sorry. And so she walks in.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, obviously for hours I was obsessing over if you wanted sushi or hamburgers or what. So I just ordered everything, and yeah, it looks crazy. But then now I'm thinking, you're probably not even hungry anyway, and now this this just looks so stupid. Please sit, right? And he's like, you look so beautiful. And he's sitting down on the other side. And,
Damn.
you know, you get so many views of this. You see them from the corner, from top, from the side, from the security feed. Like, it's just very creepy, right?
Yeah.
And it's just so empty, but this table full of food and those two. And so she's sitting there and he's like, I'm just so, see, I can't even like talk. Like, you're the only person that makes me this nervous, you know? And so she's just sitting there and she's like, and he's like, well, I'm just so glad you called. And like, just saying, please give me a chance. And she's like, if this is gonna work, you have to tell me the truth. I'm not gonna start our kid's life on a lie. What did you do? And this is when you find out that she's wearing a wire and James is outside listening. And she goes, what did you do? Just tell me what you did. I know it wasn't just Tom. And so he's like, what are you talking about? You know, of course it is. He's obviously unfit, you know, something was wrong with him. It breaks my heart, but I can't believe he did that. And so she's like, just tell me the truth. Why won't you tell me the truth?
Yeah.
And he's like, it's okay, Cecilia. I mean, Tom's gone now. You don't have to be scared.
Yeah.
And so she's like, tell me the truth. Tell me the truth.
Yeah.
And he still won't. So then she starts crying. And he goes, oh, no, Cecilia, I'm so sorry. And he goes over to her and he goes, Cecilia, don't cry. It's okay. And then he's like, don't worry. See, you're nervous. You're scared. But that's okay. I'm going to fix you.
What?
And she's like looking at him and she's like, and he's like, you know I'm the only one that can fix you, right? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, that's okay. I always know how to fix you. And he's like so creepy, you know?
Yeah.
And so then she's like, you're right. Can I just use the restroom real quick? And he goes, yeah, of course. And he sits back down on his side. And as she's walking away, you see him smirking on the security feed. Because he knows he got away with it, right? And so you see him smirk on the security feed. And then all of a sudden, you see him go like this. And his steak knife gets raised
Wait, the knife is raising by itself?
with his hand,
Okay.
Uh-huh.
and it slits his own throat. And then you see Cecilia calmly walk out of the bathroom and then sees him dead, starts screaming, right? Calls 911, I'm with my husband, he just tried to kill himself, please help me, hurry, send an ambulance, this is the address, right?
Yeah.
And then she hangs up, and he's dying, staring at her, and she sits down, and she says, surprise.
She has a suit too.
And she sits there watching him die. And James runs in because she's wearing a wire and he heard all of that. And she grabs her bag, her purse, and she walks outside. And James said, what the happened, you know?
Uh-huh.
And she said, he killed himself. And he goes, you never had any plan of making him confess to what he did. And she goes, of course I did. But I just didn't know he was that mentally unstable. And so he's looking at her, and he looks at her bag, and there's a part of the suit hanging out. And she sees him looking, and she goes, what do you think happened in there? And he goes, I think he tried to kill himself. And she walks away.
Is that the end?
That's the end.
Wait, so...
What?
Wait, so...
So she used her suit
That
to
they
make
printed.
it look like he killed himself.
Yeah. So he used his suit.
She made one.
She
You
made one,
that day
remember?
earlier?
They printed a suit to her size.
And while it was being filmed, you can constantly see the dinner. You can see it from their perspective, from top, from side, but also the security camera. And the security camera catches the suicide. So she can't be convicted. So she gets off completely free.
Dang.
So it seems like Tom killed her sister. Tom tried to kill them. And then because of the stress, Adrian killed himself.
So why was Tom beating?
Tom was set up.
So
So Tom was manipulated by Adrian to help with the plan, but Adrian knew Tom had to die, take the fall for everything. Because once he found out that she was pregnant, she can't take the fall. He wants his life with Cecilia and the baby. So who else can be the murderer? Tom. So he sent Tom over to that house knowing that Cecilia was going to come and try to kill him.
damn.
So it seems like Tom probably had no idea what happened at the mental institution of all the security guards, you know?
Yeah.
That was probably all Adrian.
Yeah.
But then
Got
he
it.
was just called and was like, hey, you need to go over there, right?
Yeah.
To the house.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
Isn't that wild?
Was the movie good?
It was pretty good. It was shot so well. Like, if you just think about just the plot, I probably wouldn't love this movie as much. But when you see, like, the effects of, like, just the constant empty space near,
Yeah.
it's really creepy.
Yeah.
But I hope you... Stop! I will punch you in the freaking face! That's gonna be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.